Okay. Welcome to Marcy Bond's Publishing Lounge. I am Marcy Bond, the founder and CEO of Wild Child Publishing and Freya's Bower. I have been in the publishing business since 1999, so almost 16 years now, or almost 17 years now. It's hard to believe that. Oh my God. Anyway, and this week I am interviewing Terri Talley Venters and her mother Leslie Talley. If Leslie is able to get on to Blab, we hope so. Fingers crossed. So we're going to start with Terri. If Terri, you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully my mom will be here shortly. I'm a licensed CPA, and I started writing as a hobby and just love doing it. It's just a great hobby. Exercise the other side of the brain, if you will. And I was fortunate enough to get published, and that inspired me to write even more. So now I just finished my 11th book, and today I actually wrote my 30th short story. And my whole theme is the periodic table of elements. And you're probably going to ask about the crown. And someone called me the queen of the elements. So I thought it'd be funny to wear a tiara today. Oh, I think my mom might be coming up.
Hopefully we'll be able to see her.
And so my theme is that each of my titles of my book will have an element in it. And like carbon copy, tin roof, silver lining, body of gold, copper cauldron, cobalt cauldron, calcium cauldron, Luke's lithium, iron curtains, sulfur springs, a fountain of youth, and europium gemline. I think I got them all. So those are all novella or novel length books. And also the short stories I'm hoping to put into collection if I can write one for each of the 118. It keeps going up, elements. I think about 3 more came out, so I better get busy.
Well, it seems like they're constantly going up. Actually, my daughter and I have just started studying biology, and then we started going over the periodic table and how the atomic weight is found, or how you determine the atomic weight. And then I can't remember exactly what it was called. Shame on me. But there was also how you determine the electrons the valence electrons. I believe that's what it's called. The valence electrons. And those are the ones that are available to connect with other elements. So how you end up with like H2O and different elements like that. So not different elements, but you get what I mean, different how the chemical reactions happen. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. I end up learning a lot because I'm homeschooling.
I know my kids are in ninth and 8th grade, and they come home and talk about science and math, and wow, I'm definitely not smarter than a 5th grade.
Well, you're an accountant though, so your math should be pretty good.
Yeah, but when just not at the calculus level, trigonometry level. That's been 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a while since I've done calculus, so I haven't had a reason to use it. But a lot of algebra. So, are you working on another story now? Are you going by the periodic table, or are you just picking and choosing what stories? What elements you're going to use?
It's pretty random, and sometimes I will have a story, but may not know the element until I get into the story, and then the idea will come to me. Like I was Body Gold, for example. I'd probably written most of it, and then just one night it hit me the title, so I went with the gold, and that helped with and that kind of brought the gold into it. Another example, Tin Roof, I knew the title, but not quite the story. So it's either or, it flips back and forth, whatever inspires me.
Oh, have you hit any of the noble gases yet?
Oh, yeah, my table in front of me.
All on the right-hand side. So the top one is helium, and that's the only one I can tell you. So I would have to pull up a table as well.
Story for helium. I do a short story for that. And so
you did? Okay.
Yes, I have that. It's actually on my
So welcome, Elizabeth and Kasab. Thank you for joining us today. I'm hoping that Leslie will be able to get in. I don't know. She's having some technical difficulties. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And we're hopeful.
Mom,
She also has.
They can't hear me. Can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear.
Hello?
Oh, Dad, did y'all try calling Damon?
Well, we've tried to restart last time, but we didn't find it. We'll take it again and see if we can get it.
Welcome, James.
We're clicking on the link.
We're kind of quiet right now. We're trying to get the third person in, but Terry and I have been talking.
Yeah.
So.
We didn't find anything on the camera settings. We're looking for that place to click on the seat.
Yeah, mine just like popped up, but a box is saying allow.
We're waiting for it to load now.
Okay.
So, Terri, I also know.
We don't see it.
I also.
We click on it to see.
Okay. So I know that you also are you a black belt?
Second degree, yes, in Taekwondo.
Second. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
In Taekwondo.
My sons are as well. We trained together, and it was a great experience. I was 36 when I started, 8 years ago, whatever that math is. And my sons were, I think, 5 and 7 when they started, and we loved it. They kind of outgrew it after a while, and after 5 years, I would just that's you can only go so far. But we really enjoyed it. It was fun.
So have you stopped doing Taekwondo then, or?
Yes, we did. We just
so your husband must be.
Yeah. They got into football and softball and basketball and all the sports, and they keep me hopping.
Oh, so you're running around with the kids, taking them everywhere.
Right. And
now has that. I'm sorry?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, have you written any of your heroines or heroes as being knowledgeable in Taekwondo or any of that into your books?
Body of Gold. I'm not sure if you can see try to get a good.
It's kind of shiny.
Shiny. The light from the camera. Oh shoot. Well, that's my second book, and that's my erotica one, my steamy one. And I did work in my heroine I think she was a first degree black belt, and I was a first degree black belt at the time when I wrote it. And so that was a really fun to incorporate that into my book. Now, where can people find you and find your books? My website, elementsofmystery.com. My books are also on Amazon, Nook, wildchildpublishing.com. I have 11 books written. 5 are published as ebooks. My first one is in print, Carbon Copy. And Carbon Copy is actually part of a trilogy, which has 3 books. And now I've just, about to come out is Luke's Lithium, the kind of a companion book to the series. So that was fun to write. What's interesting about that was that the first time I have a male hero. And so I'm used to write, heroine. So it was a challenge for me to write from a man's point of view. But I thought of my brother and just kind of thought of him and his peculiarities and inspired. It was very enjoyable to write. Hopefully he'll never read it. Describing him as actually a neat freak.
Oh, well, so you based Luke off of your brother?
Yes. We're
so
we're almost like Irish twins. We were very close growing up. And so he's actually the twin in Carbon Copy, Tin Roof and Silver Lining. He's a twin brother. But a lot of people just love the character so much. They said, we want Luke's book. So I wrote one. And I think I have another idea. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You have another idea?
Yes, and I think you mentioned it too, and other people love the character Joe so much. You remember Joe, right?
Yes.
And,
he was hot.
Triangle. He was hot in my head anyway.
I can tell.
Like a Eric Bana or a Jon Snow, if you watch Game of Thrones, vision him, but with blue eyes, and very charming. And so I'm actually going to write a story about him, his story, and it's. I think it's going to be called Key West Krypton. It's going to be set in Key West, and there's going to be a dead body at Hemingway House. So I don't want to spoil too much, but there's some of the ideas I have going on. In fact, just today my husband found he's always entering contests online. And so he found a Hemingway short story contest. And because I don't want too many people, you can't apply for it now that I told you about it, but the winner gets 3 weeks vacation in Key West for their family and 10 days of writing time at the Ernest Hemingway house in his writing room, which is above the pool house. And so I won't tell you more details, but I wrote a story today. It's called Chlorine. Actually, I used that element. You have to read it to find out. But I'll keep my fingers crossed. That would be quite rewarding to not only get to go to Key West for free, but to get to write in Hemingway's house would be just absolutely amazing.
That would be amazing. And would you end up with unlimited alcohol too?
Actually, I don't drink while I write.
I know, no. I'm just saying because Hemingway was an alcoholic. I'm sorry. Very, very bad joke. I apologize.
But I never drink it. I never write at night. I only write during the day, and then I drink after 5.
Yeah,
maybe that's why.
It's like, okay, I'll drink and then go back and read it, so I don't feel no. Okay, that would be what I would do. I drink it and then go, wow, this stuff is good. I was just curious how you find. I keep trying to drop something. I was curious about how you find time to write because you were saying you're running around doing basketball and football and soccer too, and then I know that you work. I don't know if you work full-time or part-time or what it is. And then you write. You're like a writing machine. You have 11 books and I don't know how many short stories. 30, did you say?
30, yes. Well,
you're right.
I have so little time. The few times I have, that's when I force myself to write, which is not a chore. I love doing it. But my job is part-time. And so the 2 days, usually Thursday and Friday, I'm working from home. So I have time when the kids are in school, when it's quiet, no one's around. I just sit and we have a beautiful sunroom upstairs overlooking the water. We live on the river in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's just so inspiring. It's just beautiful. And I just sit up there. I just want to be up there and with my laptop and write. And my kitties love being up there with me. So usually one or both are sitting by my legs or whatever. And it was funny just today when I was writing about my short story is actually set at the Hemingway house. And of course they have the 6-toed cats. I'm not sure if you'd heard about that. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, am I cutting out?
Yeah, it just says poor internet signal, but I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, I can see you. So, but
okay.
you were kind of coming in and out. So hopefully the internet will be better. I don't know if it's yours or if it's mine, because quite frankly, we had some issues. I posted about it, how my internet and my phone was down at the same time. And they did send a new modem, but we haven't replaced the modem because this one started working again. And, the fear of, oh my God, if we replace the modem, then, what if something goes wrong and I'm not able to do the blab? That would have really sucked. So, which I definitely didn't want to do. It just seems like that whenever you try to do something new, it screws everything up and you're SOL. Am I right? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, now you're back. Yay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, good. So
anyway, where was I? Oh, the Hemingway house. I was writing a short story set at the Hemingway house, and they have the 6-toed, I think they call them paradactyl, more than normal fingers, extra fingers, I think.
Right.
And
polydactyl or paradactyl?
Polydactyl, yes.
Polydactyl,
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they had the 6-toed cats there, and so in my story, I did mention one, which was challenging to have. Had to be 500 words or less. And I was going to describe the cat, and okay, my black cat Raven was sitting right next to me. Okay, Raven, you're in the story. That was enjoyable. Welcome,
Christopher. Thanks for joining us. And hi, Jim and Zeta. They're back again. So thanks for coming back and checking on us. What else do you do besides write, work, and take care of 2 very active boys?
that seems like my life.
That's your life. Clean house.
Please. No, I have someone do that for me.
Oh, nice. That's why you're wearing the crown. Right. That's why you're wearing the crown, because you don't have to clean the house.
Yeah, but writing's my biggest hobby. There's some television shows I enjoy. Exercising, I like to do that. Just to stay in shape and help me feel good, especially now that I stopped doing the taekwondo. But really, I think writing's my biggest hobby. We live on the water, so it's nice to be outside and do fun things with my boys and my husband, have family time.
Now, do you guys have any problems with alligators?
Oh, yes. Funny you mentioned that. We've been in the house 2 years now, and about 3 months into the house, there's always been little baby alligators. When I say babies, I mean 3-4 footers, not too big, nothing big.
3 or 4 feet. I'd be running.
Well, then one day I looked out and this alligator looked huge, and it was kind of hard because it was on the bank on the opposite side. We're on the river, but there's a pond between our house and the river in a marsh area. So alligators can come in and out, just cross the marsh and get into the pond. And it looked pretty big. And there was a fountain with a 5 or 6 foot base. And this alligator was stretched out, sunning himself on the bank. And he looked at least 2 or 3 feet bigger than the fountain base. So I'm like, okay, he's pretty big. So I called the people and they came out and took care of him, because that big, he could kill one of my kids or something. So I didn't want that. But I did actually write a short story about the American alligator. So that was fun. I got a story out of it.
And so when they take care of them, do they just relocate them?
No, they make them into purses and shoes, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad. That's really sad. Now I'm sad.
I didn't know that at the time, but
yeah.
That's what.
Well, a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year, I was walking home and I noticed a swarm of bees in the tree next door. But this tree is not a full-grown tree. At the time, it was only maybe about 4 feet high. Okay, that's because it still shows you clicked in. So I'm gonna shut you down and okay, I'm trying, and it's not kicking. Okay, so I'm just going to open that one. Okay, there. I've opened the seat for you, Leslie. Anyway, so I noticed a swarm of bees, and we're not too far. The kids walk by our house all the time near the school. And so we're not that far from the school. And it was literally only maybe 5 or 6 feet high. So because that's about how big the tree was. And you could hear the bees. So I'm calling, trying to get somebody to come out to take care of these bees, because it was literally maybe 15, 20 minutes till school lets out. And we would probably have 20, 30, 40 kids walking by under this little tree. And so when I called to get somebody out, they said, well, we'll be there in maybe about 45 minutes. I'm like, this is a health hazard, people. I like bees. And I asked him, I said, would you be relocating them? Because we're having enough issues with the bees dying out. I don't want you killing the bees. And, oh, no, they'll be fine. And then, I later found out that what they would have killed them. But as it turned out, the swarm of bees ended up leaving. But I was standing out there, and when I say swarm, there was probably at least a couple hundred of them. So if some kid had gotten stupid and thrown a rock at him, you know what I mean? And people a lot of times say, yay, there she is! Leslie! There you are!
Dead trucks again.
That's the engineer figured it out.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you could make it and join us.
Can you hear me?
Welcome, Seven.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, I can hear you.
Your display looks great, Mom.
Thank you.
Your books are awesome. I mean, they look really wonderful.
Thank you.
And
Not
Mom,
that I'm biased.
Mom got her great idea for her next book cover. Mom, do you want to talk about that? You're talking about your idea for your next book cover?
Oh, okay. For the Bonnie Bone?
Yes.
Okay, I sent it to you, Marcy. I don't know if you found it yet or sent it on to anybody.
I haven't looked at it yet,
Okay,
to be honest.
Set in Scotland in a castle. And I painted my version of the Scottish castle. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Wow.
Go to your left.
You're very talented. We should just use that.
Well, I thought that could be at least part of the book cover. I took.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a composite of 3 different castles. It's an island setting in the tidal area, so that you have to either row out to the castle or walk across some stepping stones when the tide's down. And so I took the setting for that, and then I made it into, instead of a square castle, I made it a tower castle and a little L to the side. So it's kind of a composite of 3 of them.
Well, you did a fabulous job.
I love reading that book.
What?
The Bonnie Bonnie. I love reading it. It was wonderful. That might be my favorite one. I mean, Make Old Bones will always be special to me as it is to you. It's your first one, but I really love the Bonnie Bonnie Bone.
And you want to talk about
Now, Leslie, I wanted you to introduce yourself because we're talking to you. We know who you are, but our viewers may not. So if you could tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My parents were native St. Louisans, and they left. My dad was transferred, and I was born in New Jersey. He was transferred with Allied Chemical. And then we ended up, when I was 3, in Ashland, Kentucky. So I kind of come from 2 border states, Missouri and Kentucky. So I've always been kind of on the fence about that. I graduated from Ashland Senior High. I went to a 3-year diploma school of nursing in St. Louis, which they have phased out now. And then I got a BS in nursing from the University of Kentucky. And when I was 40, I went back to school and got a BA and MA in English from the University of Central Florida in Orlando. And I taught as an adjunct for 10 years there. So I've been retired now for 15, 16 years. So.
Well, that would explain why you're such an awesome author, writer, and also where your daughter got her talent.
I hope. I just realized, Marcy, when you asked me to introduce myself, I completely omitted my education.
Well, that's okay.
That's pretty important.
I actually
I grew up in Titusville, Florida, where I was born.
I wasn't expecting quite as much.
My parents were still
quite as much as your mother gave, but that's okay. It's great. Where can they find you, Leslie? Do you have a website or?
I do, but I don't really update it. Terri does stuff for me. She puts it on Facebook. And so I'm on Facebook, and the books are available, of course, at Amazon.com, on Kindle and Barnes & Noble. Oh, Terri's got poor internet signal, it says. She's disappeared.
Yep, she's only hearing us audio.
Okay, I can hear you, Mom.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
It says audio.
I'm on Barnes & Noble with Nook and wildchildpublishing.com. And the first book, Make Old Bones, is both print and ebook.
Right. And you're also available, I don't know if you said Amazon, and you're also available on OmniLit, both of you. And if it's a romance, it's also available on all romance ebooks. We have some of them up on Kobo. I'm working to get that going. And then some of your books are also available through Overdrive, which provides ebooks to libraries. So yeah, of course you came on as soon as you were wiping your eye, Terri, because that's how it goes. At least you weren't like picking your nose. I was like, oh, the audio. I'm on audio. I don't need to worry about it anymore. No.
I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't realize I interrupted you. You had stopped talking. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
I'm done.
No, okay.
No, Marcy was talking about where else our books were available. And I didn't know those things.
Yes.
So.
Now, on Facebook, are you under Leslie S. Talley or Leslie Talley?
I'm under Leslie S. Talley, I think, aren't I, Terri? Leslie S. I think.
Leslie Talley.
Leslie Talley.
Yeah, but
So you can be found at.
but
The
sure.
reason I put the S in is because there's another Leslie Talley who writes. She lives in North Carolina, but she writes nonfiction.
Oh, okay.
So I just
So,
distinguish myself.
and then Terri, you are Facebook.com, Terri Talley Ventures or
I think I'm.
Talley Ventures. So, I'm sorry, I forgot the S. It was,
That's okay.
did I? I either forgot the S or I wasn't. I had put as much as I possibly could in, and it chopped it
I
off.
know the space, yeah.
So Jim Jim and Zeta were wondering, are those Scottish themed books I see in Leslie's windows? Because Jim, by the way, is Scottish.
Oh, I love Scotland. It's our favorite place. No, I don't have the book cover yet for the Scottish book. So one of them is set, the first one, Make Old Bones, is in Daytona. And the second one is set in St. Augustine. And the third one is set in Ireland. But yes, the fourth one will be in Scotland.
And one of mine is in Scotland. Silver Lining.
Oh,
If you can see.
yes, Silver Lining.
That's the third book in my
Ireland.
trilogy. You see the little castle in there. But that was, it was fun to write. I enjoyed writing about Scotland. And the Isle of Skye was where it's set at.
And I keep telling her she needs to go. She hasn't been.
I do.
You do.
You need to go.
It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
Yes.
It's Ireland with trees.
But
Ireland with trees.
But if you live in Florida, you need to be prepared, because regardless of whether they say it's summer or not, it really feels like winter all year round for those of us in the warmer climes. So when I was there and I was in Scotland and it was late June, actually, mid to late June, it was 55 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's we get out the window
And because
turn on the heat, and when it's 55 degrees.
yeah. But it was summer, so where I was staying, they didn't have the heat turned on because it was summertime. See, Chip says that's a decent day in Scotland.
The midges. Did you get midges? Those bugs?
We didn't have problems with the midges because it was raining so much. And so I was out. I was out hiking in the Highlands, and I was basically wet the entire time because it was raining so much. So, but it was beautiful. After a while, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
I've just been reading the Outlander series, and I watched the first season on Netflix, and that's absolutely wonderful. Set in Scotland. Really a neat book.
Very romantic.
The last time we were there something like 12 days, and we went through 14 castles.
Wow.
My thing. Castles.
Well, I like castles too. I didn't see that many when I was in Scotland. I think I spent more time in the Highlands and doing different stuff like that. I was more out in the and I went through the Isle of Skye, which was beautiful, and the Isle of Harris and Lewis, and so yeah, it was a really neat experience. Now, do you guys have any Scottish in you, or you just like Scotland?
She's had her DNA tested, so I haven't. So I go back to England, and I know I've got English, Irish, and German. I'm not sure about the Scotland. I keep hoping.
And I had the DNA tested for Ancestry.com, and I came back 30% Scandinavian, which I had never heard of having any relatives from Scandinavia. And it was funny that my husband, he's supposedly descended from Norway and Vikings, and his DNA came back, 90% British. So he gets all the Scandinavian. My kids will get the Scandinavian from me.
That's funny. Thank you for the loves, Jim and Zeta. Ours. Yeah, we have some on my dad's side. There's some Scottish, my grandfather, if you can just imagine what type of person he was. Hello, Zeta. He was half Scottish and half German. Imagine that combination. Wow. So he was an interesting fellow. Now the Scots are very, very nice. So I bet they were very nice to me. I hitchhiked a couple times, and they. This was back in the early 1990s. So not now. And of course, I was very young at the time, and it seemed like a good idea. And luckily, I was okay. I think though, but it was much safer back then in Europe. It wouldn't have been safe here in the States. Oh, that's interesting. See, Jim is saying that in terms of DNA, it seems to be quite common that Scots and German DNA appears together when people check. Don't know why.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because we have some, and I know I have a lot of English, and I have some Irish, and I have some Welsh, and French and German and Swiss German, and I've just got a bit of everything in there, kind of the mutt. Are you the okay? Who else is here? Oh, welcome, Ziri. So the two of you, you write strictly. Yours are cozy mysteries, correct, Leslie?
That's correct. Right.
And did you start out reading that, or what attracted you to cozy mysteries?
They say write what you read, and that's what I read. So I have a long history of reading mysteries.
Hello, all the world. I believe that's what you're saying. Salut tout le monde. So you write what you read. Do you read a lot of variety then, Terri? Do you also write what you read, or have you expanded on what you're?
I read quite a bit of variety. I'll read the romance. I'll read the murder mysteries. A lot of the ones that my mom loaned to me. Kind of popular fiction like young adult. I read the Harry Potters and the Hunger Games. 50 Shades of Grey, John Grisham, Mary Higgins Clark, Higgins Clark, quite a variety. Stephen King, one of my favorites. So I read the horror stories. I learned not to read horror stories when my husband's out of town. Yeah, and so maybe that's why I write in such a different variety of genres, because based on what I read. I haven't written a horror novel yet, but I have written a couple of my short stories are kind of in the horror genre.
So we have a question: how do you find the mystery genre holding up in terms of popularity sales? The few books we've put out at LLP, our mysteries seem to do steadily well. I think it varies. Leslie's books have done fairly well, and you continue to get sales even on some of your oldest titles, right, Terri?
Yes, in fact, I think that's what sold the most is carbon copy. I feel like I've always had a sale in that area.
So,
and as every time a new book comes out, then it seems like the other ones they'll start buying all of them every time a new one comes out.
Which gets you motivated to write another one, doesn't it?
You want to tell her about our collaboration, Terri?
Yes, we are. Mom wrote the first chapter. Actually, we are doing. The heroine of Carbon Copy is the niece of Leslie's heroine in Make Old Bones in her Bones series, and so we're going to go back and do like a book with my heroine's mother, Charlotte, who's the sister of Clarice. And Mom would talk a little more about the house and her inspiration for the setting. But it's really interesting. We're both going to write it, and we've brainstormed for the last several years. And, she'd come up for whatever occasion, and we just sit on the patio, have a glass of wine, and have these great ideas. And the next day, we can't remember what we talked about. And so now we finally been wanting to have more discussions without the wine, and now we're getting going on the collaboration. That'll be fun. And Mom, you want to talk about the setting?
Oh, okay.
In St. Louis?
We thought that we would make the early years of Charlotte and Clarice because they're so different. Terri's character, Charlotte, is a very uptight, very proper Southern woman. And Clarice says things like, I failed tea pouring 101 in the South. I mean, she just rejected all that ladyhood business. So we kind of wondered, how did they come out of the same family, you know? And so we're going to try for St. Louis, my grandmother's house. We're going to have Clarice and her husband Otis have bought Grandma's old house, and they're restoring it, and that brings back a lot of memories. And then Charlotte will get in on the act, and we'll see what created these different people.
But they're both very fiery. If I remember, Charlotte, she's no slouch. She's no retiring, fainting Violet. You know, so she's.
She's very like my mother. I think I have some friends that have very overbearing mothers, and I think that collaboration is what inspired Charlotte. So just for the record, she's nothing like my mother. My mother's wonderful. Yeah.
But you would say that on air anyway, so that I'm kidding. So it's not going to come back and get you, right? I'm kidding. It was interesting. So one of our viewers was saying, "Isn't your topic about DNA and genealogy?" And it's like, well, actually, no, but we kind of got into there because someone asked us about the books being whether Leslie's books were set in Scotland, because she had showed her painting. A painting of what she wants the next cover for her next book, her fourth book, and it was a painting of a Scottish castle. Well, actually, a combination of 3 Scottish castles. Do you want to show that again, Leslie, so they can see your painting? She's a fabulous artist. Where did it go? I'm sorry.
Here it is.
And she did a wonderful job with it. So we started talking about Scotland, and then that led to one thing and another. So she painted this, and I just think it's fabulous. And it will there's no question we are most likely going to use this as part of her cover art. There may be some added elements to it, but she's very talented. Not only can she write, but she can paint too. And I'm sure she has some other hidden talents that we don't know about.
I don't know about that.
Do you knit?
I inherited the writing talent. I did not inherit the painting talent at all. I can draw a stick figure.
Stick figures are important. Look at what happened with Bill. So anyway, so do you do anything else? I mean, you have painting, you have writing. Do you perhaps knit or crochet or sew quilts that you can send me? Or
no, other than the painting, I'm not crafty or anything like that. I go to water aerobics 3 times a week. I go to a sit-down class, and I read an awful lot.
You spend a lot of time in the garden.
Yeah,
I love gardening. Do you use any of your interests in your books, Leslie?
I didn't have Clarice as an artist or anything like that. What surprised me, I was initially a nurse, and then I went back to school and got the English degree. And when I started writing, what came out was Nursey Nurse. And all of my books have a weird medical solution, and it's the nurse business that I was surprised, because that's a long time ago, but that's what came out. And you never know what's going to come out.
That's true. Do you also find that your characters surprise you, Terri, about the direction they're going to go?
Yes, they do. I don't know what's going to happen sometimes. Down and write. The character evolves. The scary and wonderful at the same time. sitting down at the computer, not knowing exactly what you're going to write. I may have a couple of ideas for a book, but all the details just come out as I sit there. But then again, I write when the kids aren't in the house. I'm all by myself. I don't have any distractions, and I can just let the creative juices flow.
So are you a pantser then?
Pretty much. My plan
Are
is
you a pants? Go ahead.
Mom, I might have a title, a setting, maybe a few big ideas, but I'm pretty much a pantser. I don't outline or anything. I just write. And I found that the first couple of books I didn't write in order, but now I just write in order because I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's how I get the most creative, is writing in order. And it doesn't make it easy when you go back and edit that it's in order.
It makes it easier because I remember when I was editing Carbon Copy, and there were things I kept saying, well, this didn't happen here. We need to fix these. We need to go back and fix these because there wasn't a continuity with what was going on within the plot. I don't know if you remember that, but I do remember that.
I do. And I think that was part of the reason why I started writing in order, because writing, jumping between the end, the beginning, and middle, it just created so many holes to fill. So it didn't flow. But now writing in order just makes it flow so much better.
Now, Jim has another question again. It's Jim and Zetta, but I know it's Jim because Zetta joined us. And welcome, Zetta. That was so. His next question was: how often in mystery does one of your characters govern the direction of a story? I'd like to have Leslie answer that question. I'm going to sneeze. Pardon me. Try not to sneeze.
Say grapefruit.
Okay.
I used to wait for inspiration to write, and then I found after a while that the computer tells me what's coming next. I just sit down at the computer and it comes out. And yes, sometimes a character will go in a certain direction, and sometimes somebody gets bumped off, and I hadn't planned it. They're gone. So I don't know what direction it's gonna go.
I remember asking you, I was reading one of your chapters, Mom, and I said, I didn't know you were going to kill off so-and-so. And you said, neither did I. And I asked if you knew who done it yet, and you said, I haven't decided yet. So I think that's what makes her books so well, about who did it. And she sometimes doesn't know until she actually writes it. I think that's what makes them really, really wonderful. And her settings are just incredible. I love reading her books.
Well, it makes you want to go to Ireland or St. Augustine or Scotland. I want to go to Scotland. I actually want to go to Drum Castle. Now, I don't know if it's pronounced Irvine or Irvine, or I don't even know how it's pronounced. But supposedly that's where that's another line through my dad's family is directly to Drum Castle, and which is the seat. Irvine. Okay, so Jim is correcting me. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. I appreciate it because and so supposedly that's you live there, so you know Drum Castle. Apparently, one of my ancestors was the second son of the Lord of the Castle. Many, I think like 400 years ago or something, 500 years ago. So I would like the Gothic, okay. So Zetta is asking, do you think the Gothic genre is coming back? I used to read Phyllis A. Whitney, Victoria Holt et al. I read all of those too. I would like those to come back. Did you ever read those, Terri?
No, I did not. And now I'm curious. But the current sounds familiar. I'm trying to think of what are the titles of some of her books?
I should have given it to you, Terri. Pass those along to you too. He liked that.
So did you read all of those?
Pardon?
Did you read all of those then too?
Yes.
I did too. I loved those books.
Do you have them still, Mom?
I have some. Yeah. Most of the time you'll find them in the oldies but goodies section at the used bookstore, unfortunately.
Can you still find them in the libraries?
I don't know. I haven't looked for the Gothics. lately.
Yeah, I like a good Gothic. They're fun. Although they were pretty torrid, if I remember.
Well, and they were pretty predictable too in some ways. There was always some brooding character in the background, and yeah, some girl in a flimsy dress
but a lot
running to the cliffs, and
yeah, that's true. That's very true. But they did have a certain sense of there was. It almost felt like there was paranormal going on.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So Jim was wondering, do either of you start with a solution to a mystery and write the story working up to that? Or is it progressive from the start and you have to work the solution to the mystery at the end?
Well, I know a lot of times I know the end before I know the beginning. It's that pesky middle. That's what's the problem. I can have a beginning and I can have an end, but it's filling in the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I know what's going to happen in the end before I start.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know what's going to happen at the end, but other times I don't. But more often than not, I have the ending in mind and work towards it. But like my mom said, it's the middle that and all the details that kind of are come as they come up as they go along.
Well, that's true. I've written some, actually, no, with my book, Hieroglyphs, I really didn't know how it was going to end. So it's a little short novella. I think you've read it. Haven't you, Terri, or have you?
I've read it.
Okay. So
I read, actually.
it was one of the first ebooks you read.
Yes.
And so I really... what was very interesting is I had that idea come to me. It was just like a what if question. And then suddenly I started writing the story. And then I started doing research because it has ancient Egyptian gods. And then there's part of it that ends up being in ancient Egypt. And then as I was doing the research, what I was researching eerily supported what I was writing. So, so this whole idea of about the female, I didn't even know when I started writing it that there had been female pharaohs. And so that was, So I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you had an idea and you started writing it and then you start doing the research and then the research confirms this idea of which you had, you know what I'm saying? You hadn't really done any research on that. And have you had that happen to either of you? And Zeta also wants to know how long you spend doing your research.
I think my mom researches more than I do. Mine really depends on the topic. Usually I write from a sense of place. And so it's usually a place that I've been and I may just, checking details. If I've already been there, I may go again for a visit and kind of checking details. But in Cobalt Cauldron, one of my books, my paranormal books, my Cauldron series, I did a lot more research and I learned a lot of new things like this one. It is actually partly set in Egypt and involves King Tut. It's also set in the World's Fair in 1904. It's in St. Louis, and which my grandfather, my mother's father, was there when he was.
He was a baby in arms. He was a baby in arms.
Okay.
He was born in 1903. Yeah.
With her family history in St. Louis, I thought it'd be neat, and that time frame, it worked out for my story to have. Part of the book set there. And so I did do a lot of research and some of it I hadn't known, but then it was, learning more as I got along and incorporating the books. But yeah, I was surprised, like you said, when you're like, oh yeah, maybe it was like in the back of my mind somewhere, or like you said, it confirmed what I had been written. So that's kind of nice. But Mom, you were.
What about,
what?
How much time do you spend researching, Leslie?
I do a lot of stuff on Google Earth. Just going along and you go along on the road with your little peg man and things come up. You're interested in them. You see a castle and you see something. I write, like Terri, I write from a sense of place. And I got this from one of my professors at UCF, Dr. Richard Addix, taught a course called Literature of the South. And he gave us the 6 prominent features of Southern writing. And that is a sense of history or the past, sense of religion or sin, a sense of family or genealogy, a sense of the grotesque, 2-headed calves at the state fair kind of thing, rural or agrarian, and a sense of place. And if you think about it, Southern writers don't set their books in anywhere USA. You know where you are with a Southern writer. With Pat Conroy, you're in South Carolina. With Margaret Mitchell, you're in Georgia. So I find that if you have a unique setting, the flora, the fauna, food, all just comes up and you can come up with a story out of it. So that's why I set my books in different locations. I have my innkeepers be exchange innkeepers so that they can be, and of course, when you go to Ireland and Scotland, you've got all this culture shock too, and fish out of water kind of thing. So that's where I'm from.
Zeta B said the reason the South has so many churches is because there's a lot of sinning going on.
Would be.
No, you know what it is, Zeta. The Zeta, what it is. See, here in California, we have a lot of sinning going on, but we don't care. We are unrepentant, so we don't have quite as many churches.
So I think a question about where have your best ideas come from? And I've actually gotten a lot of ideas driving the car, not when the kids are with me, but when I'm on the way to pick them or drop them off. And sometimes I'll intentionally not have the radio on, and my mind will just think about what book I'm going to write next. Sometimes I'll have a solution to the problem while I'm driving the car. But I'm careful. I'm still a very good driver, but my mind.
Well, at least you're not texting, right?
Right.
How about you, Leslie? Where do some of your best ideas come from?
I think, just like I said, just the setting. You just start brainstorming stuff about the setting, and then ideas just come up. It's working.
Well, I think that like two of the books that I've written, one which is going to be released here probably next month, not next month, but in March, is that they're both set in the Central Valley outside of Fresno, so California. And I grew up in that area, so I'm very, very familiar with it. And which makes it easier for you to create a believable setting. And also I have an emotional attachment to that area. And I think that when you have an emotional attachment to some place, it helps you write about it. So have you been to Ireland and St. Augustine and
yes.
Where was the
Daytona.
I didn't want to write about the Space Coast. I don't know why. Maybe I was too close to here. So the first one was set in Daytona and the second one in St. Augustine. Of course, Terri used to live in St. Augustine. So there's all the history and the Spanish influence and the English influence. So there's a lot of stuff there. And then of course, when you get to Ireland and Scotland, you got all kinds of stuff. So I've been to Ireland 3 times, I guess.
So Jim and Zeta, again, it's at Jim and Zeta, but I know it's Jim who's asking this question. This is something I've done myself. Have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night with something important in your mind and had to get up and write? Have either of you done that? Been woken up in the middle of the night and had to write?
No. No, I haven't. Like I pretty much always do my writing per day during my special time, and I love my sleep. So if I do have a dream or a good idea, luckily I'll remember the highlights, and I've woken up in the morning and then wrote my ideas down. I've had a few dreams that turned into stories or even I curtain started with a dream. So, but I never get up in the middle of the night and write because I need my beauty sleep.
Now, Leslie, I saw you shaking your head, so I'm assuming that's a no, that you don't get up in the middle of the night and write.
No, I used to keep a notepad by my bed in case we got in the middle of the night and some idea comes to you, you can write it down or it's bye-bye. But I don't do that anymore. I don't know why.
And I think I've only had that happen to me a couple of times, but like you, Terri, I'm too tired. And if I don't get enough sleep, my nuclear broom comes out and I spend the rest of the day. I spend the rest of the day flying around on it, shooting anybody who says anything that just even quite remotely makes me upset. So it's best if I don't get up in the middle of the night and write anything down. I am not a pleasant person.
I call it DEFCON 5 if I don't get enough sleep.
DEFCON 5. No, mine's definitely a nuclear blast. It's best not to experience.
Mom, you didn't say anything about The Crown.
Well, I saw it.
Oh, okay. That was a surprise. I thought with the Queen of the Elements, it would be.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen you before, so I didn't know.
Yeah,
that was.
Sorry, my husband. At Disney, a couple years ago, we often go there for our anniversary, and he got like the princess package and got the crown and the wand, and I'm like a big kid, so when I go to Disney, I actually wear the crown.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think I created
more
when we were out in New Mexico. We were out there for 6 months when Terri was 2, and that was when they would bring out the Disney movies every 7 years. And I took her to see Cinderella. And I think that may have created this Disney monster.
That was my first.
Well, my husband really likes Disneyland. And when I was a kid, because we lived up in the Central Valley, it was a good 4 or 5 hour drive down here. And then it was also very expensive because back then you bought a ticket to get in. But then you paid to get in, but then you bought tickets to go on the rides. I think you paid to get in. You probably did. But you didn't have to pay for parking, I think, because I was young. We only did it once because it really was expensive, especially if you have 4 kids and you're having to buy tickets. And the best rides, of course, are a bunch of tickets. So we went on the Matterhorn and whatever. And the other thing that I remember when we came down to go to Disneyland was the I-5, the Interstate 5. We must have sat in one spot for like an hour and we didn't move because the traffic was so bad. So, to my dad, my mom probably would have had us come down more often, but to my dad, as far as he was concerned, Disneyland was good once and never again. And, but my husband's mom grew up, my husband's grandmother had a house in Irvine. And so he would go down and visit her. And he and his cousins frequently went to Disneyland. And so he really, really likes Disneyland. It's fun. You see, I'm just kind of like, it's fun, but
sacrilege.
It's really, but it's pretty expensive even with our Southern California pass. So if we did a Southern California pass and we paid for a yearly pass to go, and we only get to go certain times, I think it's now like $200 per pass, and she's getting, my daughter's 11 and a half, so she's getting of the age where Disneyland isn't nearly as much fun as it used to be. And I think for this past year, they actually had cut out the pass, and that you could only get a yearly pass that was like $1,000 a year. It was.
Oh my God!
It was like some insane amount, and I think they brought back the Southern California pass because a lot of people stopped coming. They were trying to decrease it. It was so packed at the park. They were trying to decrease the number of people that were actually coming to the park. Anyway, I know this has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but you were talking about your Disney crown, and so I went off on this tangent about Disneyland. Anyway, and so Jim was saying that we were talking about getting up in the middle of the night, and he said he's done it several times, and as a result, he now has a stack of partially written shorts and ideas. No, I try. The other thing is, the reason I do my best not to get up in the middle of the night is because if I start that, then I will wake up every single night at like 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I have a story idea, or if there's nothing going on. So if there's nothing going on and I don't have any ideas, I'm awake at 3 a.m. thinking, why am I awake at 3 a.m.? So I try not to do that. Even there's been times when I've woken up in the middle of the night and had to go the bathroom. Mother Nature calls. It's like 3 a.m. It's like, I'm not getting up at that time. You wake up at 3 a.m. when you're nearly 60 anyway. Well, I'm not nearly 60, so I will skip the 3 a.m. wake up calls. So I know you are, Jim. I'm just saying I'm not. So I'm not doing the 3 a.m. wake up calls. And Leslie, it sounds like you get good night's sleep.
No, I'm up about 3
No.
No, I'm up about 3 times during the night, and I read myself back to sleep. I've always got a paperback in my hand, and I read.
Oh. Do you turn the light on then? Does that bother your husband, or?
Got the light on, yes.
So you have the light on. The other morning, I got up. I think it was yesterday morning. I woke up at 5:30, and which I've been doing more and more of lately. And some of it is because I'm going to exercise, so I go out swimming at 6 a.m. And I couldn't go back to sleep, so I had my iPad with me. You're up at 6 a.m. I'm not surprised. Oh, wait, no, Jim, you're up at 3 a.m. Welcome, Camel. And I had brought my iPad back to bed, and I even turned the light down, and he stirred, and I said, am I bothering you? Is everything okay? And he said, your iPad light's too bright. I'm like, I'm going to have to turn it off. Okay. So I turned it off, and I was like, I might as well get up. I'm just going to lay here and stare at the ceiling, and it's 5:30. It's late enough to get up anyway, right?
Right.
Are you an early riser, Terri?
Well, only because I have to take the kids to school. And this year they're in different schools right now. My one's in high school and the other one's in 8th grade. And so we're up at 6 o'clock every morning. I take David to high school, and then my husband takes my youngest son to middle school. So we're up anyway. But then we go to bed early. We're usually in bed by 9 o'clock.
By 9 o'clock. Okay.
We're having a glass of wine, but we're retired for the evening early on.
And you, Leslie, are you a late nighter or?
Well, I stay up for the Daily Show. So when that goes off at 11:30, then I'll hit the hay. But and I have to get up, not real early in the morning, but I have to get up for water aerobics. So I get up for that.
Well, I'm really more of a morning person, and my husband is a night owl. And I have found I was starting to sleep in. Sleep in to me was like 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and so it is kind of a sleep in. But recently I started getting up to go swimming, and thanks for all the love, Zeta and Jim and Zeta. And so I started getting up to go swimming. Literally, all it took me was once to wake up at like 5:15, 5:30, and now every morning I'm awake at 5:15, 5:30. And so, which I don't really mind, except that now I am ready to go to bed by 10 o'clock. I've turned into a pumpkin and I want to be asleep. Yeah. But he's still a night owl. So yeah, it's kind of, It's kind of interesting. I wonder if he's a night owl because he was also in a band and a musician.
Could be.
I'm neither a morning person nor a night owl. I would sleep until 8 if I could, like on the weekends, and I still go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. And I get most of my writing done in the morning before lunch, before I go pick up the kids from school. So I guess I'm a morning person in that sense. I'm my most productive time. But then I like to take naps too. So
how many hours do you usually write?
I would say on Thursdays and Fridays, I would say I write 3 or 4 hours of good, solid, just no interruption writing time.
Wow.
8 hours a week, maybe.
How many hours a week?
That's 8 hours a week.
About 8 hours a week, then?
Yeah.
Wow. And you, Leslie, how often do you write? Is it when the muse strikes?
Well, I don't wait for the muse anymore. I wait for just go to my computer. But she's amazing to me that she does all she does, and I've got all the time in the world and waste it. So I don't write as much as I should.
So to quote Six, she has too much time on her hands.
Right.
Well, sometimes that's what happens. When you have less time, then you become more regimented about when you're going to do things. And then when you have no schedule, it's just like, no, I'll get to it.
Next in October, my oldest will have his license, and he can then drive himself and my youngest to school. So I won't have that chauffeuring duty as much. I'm wondering if I'm going to write more, what I'll do with that extra
sleep
time.
in.
And sleep in.
Sleep
I hope so. Maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe a little bit of both. Welcome, Jacob, Aaron, and thank you for the love. We like the props. So to recap, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you guys, what the names of your books and the titles of your series are. And obviously on Twitter, we can find you, Terri, at Terri Venters. And Talley, Leslie, we can find you at Leslie Talley 20. And that's LESLIETALLEY 20. And Terri with an I, 2 R's and an I. So what, if you could let everybody know how to find you, Terri.
Oh, okay. Yes, elementsofmystery.com is my website, and I have all my books and some short stories posted there. And then my mom's website is makeoldbones.com, which is her first book, and that lists where her books are. And we're also at Amazon, but our websites are a great place to find us and read more about our books. Also on Amazon and Wild Child Publishing and Nook, and Marcy mentioned some other places. There's more places that we're on that we even
that you knew.
Yeah.
And you let them know, but also on Facebook, right? It's Terri Talley Venters on Facebook, correct?
On Facebook, yes.
And Leslie is just Leslie Talley on Facebook, correct?
Yes.
I think I'm Leslie S. Aren't I? Leslie S. Talley. It might be S. I'm not sure.
Let me see. I'm gonna look up and see. Leslie Talley. Let's see. No, it's just I believe it's just Leslie Talley.
Okay, you sure you got the Leslie? Right, Leslie Talley.
Yes, I do. I recognize your picture.
Okay.
On here. So this is what I got. There's a Leslie.Talley. I don't know what that is. It's probably the reference of me looking you up. So I've posted the link on the side here. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming and listening to us and asking questions. It was awesome to have all of you ask questions and participate. We really appreciate it. And all of the love is greatly appreciated. I am Marcy Bond. Next week, I will be back at 4 p.m. and I will be interviewing Deborah Eckerling. So you can find me again Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I am the founder and CEO of Wild Child Publishing in Freya's Bower. I also help people who want to self-publish get self-published. And you can find me at marcybond.com. That's M as in Mary, ARCI, B as in boy, AUN as in Nancy.com, or finallypublished.com, wildchildpublishing.com, freya'sbower.com. And you can find me, of course, on Twitter at Marcy Bond or Facebook, Marcy Bond. I'm an overachiever, Zetta. What can I say? I always have been a double type A. Yes, you can hop in after we go off record, that Jacob Aaron. So thank you for coming and tune in for next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.